Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always, and what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to check out all these tentacle baits. I've done some previous videos on them, but after using them a while, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on what works and what doesn't. Stick with me. I think you'll enjoy it. So first up is the G-Crack 95 soft plastic grub. Now this thing is called a 95 because it's 3.75 inches long or 3 3/4 inches long. And first things first on it, does it catch fish? Yes, it absolutely catches fish. It is a fish catcher, but there are some issues with it. On the pro side, as far as what's good with it, it's a heavy bait, so you can get some great casting distance out of it. I've been rigging it with a 4/0 or a 5/0 extra wide gap worm hook, using it to pitch up in brush piles and in standing timber, weed lines and things like that. Does a great job. You can skip this bait, so you can skip it under tree limbs and overhanging trees, under docks and things like that. But it does a great job as far as that aspect of it goes. On the con side of it though, the bad thing about this bait, it's very salt impregnated, so it's buoyant in that way, and it's also what makes it dense and gives it that heavier weight, for some castability. But it is like the knock that's on Senkos as far as they do not last through many fish, and they tear up easy. So it's like a hand pour, very soft and such. But I'll show you a couple others, like this one here. You can see that the back end of it right here is ripped off. One fish, and that's all I got out of it. Now, this one here, the second one, you can see got 2 fish out of it, ripped the back end off, and the next one tore a big chunk right there you can see out. Now, you can use a lighter, burn it, melt it back together, a little bit of super glue, and get a few more uses out of it, but usually the ends just get completely shredded. And these weren't, great big fish I was catching on it. So that's the thing, you are not gonna get many fish out of it. Unless you guys are out there who have been using these and found a way to get more than just 1 or 2 fish out of a bait, because I'm looking for a bait that I can catch, multiple fish on and not have to replace, because these aren't cheap. So fish catcher, yes, but man, it is not very durable whatsoever. Next up are these dice baits. There's the OSP Dice bait. These are not that. I didn't pay 20 bucks for a 4-pack of the OSP, so these are knockoffs. So maybe the original OSPs do a little bit different job. First off, do they catch fish? They do catch fish. But I'll tell you this, I fished these a lot over the last month, and I fished them different ways. On a drop shot rig, I fished them with the wacky worm hook and weightless. I fished it with the weighted wacky worm hook, all different ways. And I also fished, like say for example, a Ned rig or just your traditional wacky worm setup. And these dice baits didn't outperform those. I catch just as many fish on a Ned rig as I would this. A lot of times I would outcatch them on a Ned rig. So I know there's a lot of hype around these right now. Some places are a little bit hard to get. They are a unique bait. They've got a really cool look underwater. They kind of pulsate and undulate, kind of like an octopus going through the water. But I have not found them, maybe you guys have, to be any different than using other finesse baits. I wouldn't say that are similar, but used under the same circumstances. And like I say, I fished these in a lot of different bodies of water, different water conditions, water clarity, and I just haven't found the dice baits. Like I say, they catch fish for sure, but not any different than any other finesse bait does. So next up is the G-Crack Cub Bomb. This is the 1.2. It comes in a 1.1, a little bit smaller size, but I've been using the 1.2. And man, this is a bait I have been knocking out the fish on in the past month. And I've been fishing it in different bodies of water, as far as water clarity, water depth, things like that, weed lines, timber, brush piles. And I have fished this and fished those dice baits that I showed you. And I've also fished it in places I've traditionally caught them on, say, a Ned rig or a drop shot. And this by far has outperformed any of these baits, and even the traditional stuff like the Ned rigs, for example. This time of year, warm water, I like to scale down. I catch a lot of fish on Ned rigs. But man, this Cub Bomb here, and I don't know what makes it so much different than, for example, this dice bait. Except for obviously this is square, this one's round. This is salt impregnated, so it's heavier, it's denser than the dice bait. And when it falls through the water column, the way I've been rigging it is, I've tried different ways. I've drop shotted it. I've used a weightless wacky hook, and I've used this hook right here, which is just a little wacky rig head that's weighted, 1/16 ounce. It's got a little wire weed guard on it. You don't have to have the wire weed guard, but the way I've been rigging it up, there's a little tail on this end of the bait, a little flat side right there. So what I've been doing is just hooking it through just to, about a 1/4 inch of the bait, just like that. And man, you pull this through the water column, and it has a slow fall because it's got that salt impregnation in it. And as it falls through, kind of head down, if you will, with the jig head, it kind of pulsates, almost like looks like an octopus underwater when it's moving. But this setup here with this little wacky worm weighted head on it, and just kind of slow, methodic presentation, whether it's along the edge of a weed line or in a brush pile, just bringing it out real slow and working it through the limbs. I found two things with it also. Number one, it's super durable. I mean, I had a day where I caught over 25 bass on one bait, one of these, and I think the only reason I lost it after that because I didn't rotate where the hook was in, and it kind of wallowed out a spot and it threw it on the way in. End up sinking because these are dense and they do sink, they don't float. But I found it to be very, very durable, and I found it also to be really weedless, and not because of this little weed guard thing on here. That honestly, that really doesn't do much. I think the way this bait is round with that head on it like that, I'm able to throw this up with some brush, really thick brush, timber, and stuff like that. It rarely gets hung up. And then even on the weed lines, it doesn't pick up a lot of weeds. It kind of everything just slides around it. So it's been a great bait. This is one that, I mean, if you're wanting to try one out, I would highly recommend. I will say, right before I started recording this video, I checked again on Discount Tackle, Tackle Warehouse, some other places, completely sold out in every size and every color of this bait. I did find it on Fish USA. They had it for a little bit more. It was around, I think, 11 bucks, maybe 11 or 12 bucks for a pack. To me, that's a little much, but I must not be the only one who thinks that this bait is kind of all that in a bag of chips right now, because you can get pretty much all the other baits. This Cub Bomb is super tough to get right now, and I'm sure that'll pass once the shiny wears off and guys start fishing other baits or have used them for a while. But right now, it's definitely, I think, a bait worth getting. And last up is this little bait. It's called the Wobbler, and you can see it's kind of bulbous on this side, flat on this side here. Did a video on, like, say, some of these other baits about a month ago. Been fishing this one. This one here, just out of the gate, it catches fish for sure, especially when you want that small, tiny finesse presentation. And like I say, it's kind of got this bow tie look to it. You can see right in the center that little bump kind of plastic. What I've been doing is using the same setup where I'll take this wacky worm hook, weighted wacky worm hook, and I've tried the weightless too, but I like the weighted one because it gives me a little bit of casting distance, and it also helps the bait fall a little bit through the water column. Then hooking them up like that, I guess you guys can see what the problem is out of the gate. Does it catch fish? Yes. But there's only this little piece of plastic right here, and you're going to get about 1, maybe 2 fish out of one of these, and it breaks here in the center. So it's not durable, it's not long lasting. I've also tried like this, just hooking them up on a drop shot rig, or this wacky worm just to one end. But once again, same problem. The fish come up, they hit it from the backside when they suck it in, and they almost always rip the back end of this bait off. So does the Wobbler catch fish? It does catch fish. Is it durable though? No, it's kind of in the same class as this 95 grub. You get 1-2 fish out of this, you get 1 or 2 fish out of this if you're lucky. And I knew going in, looking at this design, I thought it was a cool design, that it probably wouldn't have any kind of durability to it, which it doesn't. But man, when you hook it up here in the middle and you pull it through the water column, it kind of folds up and opens up, and has a great look, especially in clear water. Done well on it, but it's just not viable as far as, if you want to catch a bunch of fish on it, you're going to go through multiple packs of those baits in a day if you're on a good bite. So out of all these new tentacle baits that I've shown you, obviously I think the Cub Bomb is by far the best of all of them. You guys, if you've tried different tentacle baits, any of these or just other styles, other manufacturers, let me know down in the comments. I love to hear, because I'm always, man, I'm a tackle junkie as far as wanting to try out new stuff. I'm always game for that. But this one here, for some reason, like I say, it's not a whole lot different than the dice baits, but it is exceptional. And I got no affiliation with G-Crack or anything like that. But this bait here is all that in a bag of chips as far as new baits that I've tried here over the past few months. If you guys got something out of today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. I'll leave some product links down below for some of these baits here if you want to check them out. I'll also leave some links down below for some product discounts for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, until that next video, Get out there and fish.